You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you can put a book in a kid's hands, but you can't make them read it. Well, you can, but only if you like resentment, eye rolling, and blank stares. Hey everyone, I'm Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and today we're talking about motivation. Specifically, how we get kids to actually want to read instead of just pretending to read while staring blankly at the page and waiting for the timer to run out. Let's be honest, reading logs don't make kids love reading. So what does? Let's talk about it. Have you ever been forced to read a book you hated? A book that made you question every life choice that led you to that moment? Yeah. That's how kids feel when they realize they have zero say in what they read. One of the best ways to get kids invested in reading is to give them some level of choice. If they pick the book, they're more likely to care about it. Now, does that mean they should get to choose everything? No. Because there are books we need kids to read. Books that build skills. Books that fit the curriculum. Books that open up specific discussions. But giving kids control where we can makes them more willing to engage when they don't have control. So, let's talk about where we can offer choice. First up, independent reading. Let them choose books from the classroom or school library that fit with their specific interests. Additionally, book clubs. Instead of assigning one book to everyone, give a list of 4 to 5 books and let them choose the ones that are of interest to them to read and discuss. You can also do a lot with themed reading selections. Studying historical fiction? Let them pick from a selection of books on the time period instead of just assigning one. Giving kids choice in some parts of reading makes them more likely to buy into the parts where they have less control. It's a balancing act. Reading is often seen as a solo activity, but motivation, it skyrockets when it's social. Think about the last time you loved a book and just had to tell someone about it. Maybe you recommended it to a friend. Maybe you ranted about the ending. Maybe you just wanted someone to experience what you experienced. Kids, they feel that too. So how do we make books social in the classroom? Here's one way: book talks. These are quick, informal, student-led presentations where they hype up a book they love or rant about one they didn't. Additionally, reading buddies. Pairing up students to read and discuss books together. Also, classroom book displays. Have a rotating display where students recommend books to each other. If a kid sees that their friend loved a book, they are way more likely to pick it up. And let's not forget discussion groups. Book clubs, small group discussions, or even just a 5-minute talk and turn about what they're reading can make a big difference. While good vibes only is a nice slogan, it doesn't actually really help motivation. Consider that even complaining about books is a form of engagement. So if a kid wants to go on a 5-minute tirade about why a main character made the worst decision possible, that's still a win. Let them talk. Have you ever tried to hand a kid a book you loved as a child and they look at you like you just handed them a tax manual? Yeah. Just because we loved a book doesn't mean today's kids will. Nostalgia, it's a trap. And while some classics hold up, a lot don't. We need to make sure we're handing kids books that feel fresh, books that reflect their lives, reflect their humor, reflect their problems. Now, that doesn't mean ditching every classic, but it does mean balancing older books with modern books. Let's talk about some ways to implement this in the classroom. Stay up to date with new books. Regularly check out award lists. I'm talking about the Newbery, the Coretta Scott King, the Schneider Family Book Award. Check in with your librarian. That's literally their job, and pay attention to their recommendations. And build up some social media that follows bookish events. You want to be on the lookout for current titles that kids are going to enjoy. You also want to balance classic and contemporary. If you're assigning an older book, pair it with a newer one on the same theme. For instance, studying The Giver? Give them a modern dystopian middle grade novel as a comparison. I'd recommend The List. And ask the kids. Let them tell you what they're reading and loving. You'll learn more from a student raving about a book than 100 online reviews. The goal is to find books that hook them now, not just books we assume should still be popular. Nobody likes feeling like they're bad at something. If reading always feels like work, kids will avoid it. So we have to make sure they have moments of success, moments where they see progress. And there's a few ways to build that recognition in our classrooms. First up, reading logs that actually matter. Instead of just logging minutes, have students track books I finished, books I abandoned, and why, or favorite quotes. Make it reflective instead of just, did you read? Yes, no. Also, goal setting. Setting personal reading goals that they choose, like reading a book outside of their usual genre, finishing a book series, or reading 5 books by different authors. Class reading challenges are a great way to get everyone involved. Instead of just an individual reading log, create a class-wide goal where everyone contributes. For example, can we read 100 books as a class this month? But remember to balance out equity and equality. You're going to have kids who are moving as readers through these books at different paces, so make sure you take that into account. You want to also celebrate growth. You want to recognize students for reading something harder than usual, trying a new genre, or sticking with a book even when it was tough. We've all been there. When kids see their growth, they believe in their ability to succeed, and that belief, that self-efficacy, is what turns struggling readers into confident ones. So all that said, let's bring it together, because here's the deal. If we want kids to be motivated readers, we need to, 1, give them choice, but within smart boundaries. We are still the adults in the room. We need to make reading social, because books are better when we talk about them. You also want to keep books fresh. We shouldn't be relying solely on what we loved. We also want to create success moments, because confidence, that's what fuels motivation. And here's the real secret. Motivation isn't about making kids love books. It's about making them love what reading lets them do. Some kids will fall in love with stories. Some will use reading to figure things out. Some will read because they want to, not because they have to. The goal isn't to raise kids who read because they have to. It's to raise kids who see reading as useful, enjoyable, or at least mildly tolerable. So now, I want to hear from you. I want to know about what strategies you have seen when it comes to motivating students to read. How do you balance choice with structure? And most importantly, what's the book you thought kids would love only to have them completely reject it? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next one.